Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Mahalia Joseph, and C News is live at noon. Topping the news at this time, the Minister of Labour, Jennifer Batiste Primus, will meet with representatives of both the Oilfield Workers Trade Union and the executive of Petrotrin in just over an hour as a matter of priority. This after the OWTU served a strike notice to the company on Wednesday after salary negotiations broke down. The strike is expected to take place next Monday at 10 a.m. However, the OWTU is still open to talks over the weekend that can change how the situation plays off. But if this olive branch is ignored, the union stands ready to move forward with its action. The strike, if allowed to go through, will last for up to 90 days. Petrotrin was given a period of 96 hours to respond to the union. The Industry All Global Union, a body which represents about 50 million workers in the mining, energy and manufacturing sectors in 140 countries, is urging the government to intervene and ensure good faith negotiations between Petrotrin and the OWTU. In a letter addressed to the Prime Minister, the union said the company is refusing to negotiate a fair and justified raise for its workforce, hiding behind the excuse of low oil prices. It said the unreasonable position disregards the vital contribution of workers to the company and the economy of the country. It also disregards the reality that it's workers who have held the company together despite its many inefficiencies. Petrotrin workers who are threatening to strike may one day have to beg for their jobs if they continue this way. That's the view of the president of the Downtown Owners and Merchants Association, Gregory Aboud. He says he understands the issues raised by the workers. However, if they strike on Monday as planned, the country will be held to ransom. He said while payment is one thing, there is another issue which needs to be addressed.
Petrotrin is more or less a certifiable bankruptcy, is what it is. And in many private sector industries, a company with a balance sheet like Petrotrin would have already been closed and sold by its creditors. In this case, Petrotrin is alive because it has the guarantee and the backing of the government and the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So the institutions which have loaned money to Petrotrin are standing by and assured by the guarantees which have been given by the government and the people of the country.
He said if the country's economy continues on the downward path and the country's national debt continues to increase, there will be need to seek outside help, maybe from the International Monetary Fund.
And look at our country's economic position. One of the conditions that they might impose on us for the provision of any standby loan facility might well be that a company like Petrotrin be shut down or sold. And I would ask that all those who are participating in the current matter keep in mind at least the medium term, the next 2 years at least, because what they are arguing for today might well become minor in comparison to what they will argue in 2 years for, which might be to save the company and to save their jobs.
President of the San Fernando Business Association, Daphne Bartlett, is warning that many small businesses will be forced to shut down due to the shortage of foreign exchange in the country. She was on CTV's Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago.
You have the suitcase traders and small micro businesses. They cannot get foreign exchange to bring in anything, raw materials to make their stuff, or traders cannot bring in stuff to sell. And that is collapsing, because I know many small businesses have told me already that they have to close because they cannot bring in goods. So that is a shrinking area again in Trinidad.
Fixin TNT maintains that Petrotrin's poor financial situation has more to do with corruption, mismanagement and inefficiency than it does with depressed energy prices. In a statement, it says it would like both government and the union to recognize their respective roles in Petrotrin's decline over time and collectively accept responsibility to effectively turn it around. Governments, Fixin TNT says, must no longer be allowed to use Petrotrin as a political tool, another place to repay friends and financiers with board appointments, jobs and contracts. They are calling for an independent safety audit of all Petrotrin's operations, especially in light of the oil spill of December 2013. Opposition Member of Parliament Dr. Tim Gopeesingh is questioning the timing of the manpower audit into the police service. On Wednesday, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley said an 8-member team headed by Professor Ramesh Diosaran would be put in place to conduct a review of the police service and will submit a report by March 31st. Speaking on CTV's Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Gopeesingh said the government has failed to deal with the upsurge in crime since taking office, and this latest move is just another attempt to fool the population.
Reduction in crime. After 16 months in office, you're now telling the population you're going to do a study and appoint a committee and another committee, and the findings of that committee, when you get it, how long you're going to take to implement it, while hundreds of lives are going to be lost during the process.
Dr. Gopeesingh said people are afraid to leave their homes and wants to know what government is doing now to alleviate these fears. He explained that the People's Partnership had a 20-point crime plan before it lost election. He made some suggestions to the government.
From the army, and you have nearly 6,000 police officers who can be on the beat on a daily basis across the country. You have to bring in the type of electronic system. Then you have the intelligence aspect of it, which you are using to tap people's telephone instead of getting at the criminal activity with the National Operations Center and the SSA and so on.
You're watching the C News Live Report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at C News Live. And continuing with that story, police officers are welcoming the audit. The representing Police Social and Welfare Association told us they need to know what's happening with the service. However, while this is being carried out, he is asking members of the public not to lose their faith in the police service because of a few rogue officers.
I think that there is the opportunity for members of the public to speak to trust the past information onto, or in terms of what they have seen that is of a criminal nature, to someone they know. So they don't need to actually go to the resident police station, which they may not trust, or the resident policeman, which they may not trust. But they will have some policeman who's able to take their information and act on their information. Then there's also the facility of the 555 and the Crime Stoppers, which they can pass the information on to, because the point is that we cannot just say we don't trust the police service and not respond, because when we don't respond, then the issue of criminality escapes us and we are not able to treat it as a police service.
He said the Commissioner of Police has been trying to ensure as much information gets into the public through the police weekly news briefing and Beyond the Tape program, but admits more must be done.
Let's not have the police service open. We need to actually deliver and start to speak about the different investigations that may attract the public's glare, so that we can speak about it, speak on how success, if we're not successful, what we have, where we have reached a stalemate, so that the public can have a greater understanding. Because the public also too will be driven by results. If you do not deliver the results to them, they too, the public will be waiting in terms of their trust. So I think those are areas that we can improve.
And President of the San Fernando Business Association, Daphne Bartlett, has also weighed in on the discussion. She said there have been talks of an audit into the police service for a long time now, but she noted this may not be the answer to crime.
So to have these various investigations and various committees and so on, what we really need out there is the police and the army to go out there and to protect and serve, catch the criminals, make a proper DNA lab. Do we have that? Even when we sit and we look at television and we look at all those various shows like the CSI and whatever, DNA is an important part in catching the criminals. We've passed the legislation, and the past government, I don't think they implemented a good DNA lab, or if we have any at all.
She explained this country is used to outsourcing labor where need be, And if that is the case with this suggestion, then it can be done. She also spoke about crime in the city of San Fernando. She said crime is on the rise in that area, and that too is a concern.
The talk now around is the best places to be home, and as soon as you finish working, people are thinking that they're going to go home and not go out. You cannot open later for sure, because once it's getting dark, you know for sure that you have to be home. So businesses are not opening later as they used to be. Shoppers are afraid to come out, so they just say, I come to do this and that, and I get home quickly. There's a fear, and we really want to allay this fear that is building up in the country.
Chutney icon Anand Yankaran was laid to rest this morning. The funeral service started at around 9 o'clock this morning at his Couva home, and the body was taken to the Waterloo cremation site. It was a musical send-off for him, as many of his former colleagues were in attendance. Yankaran passed away at the age of 51 on Monday after suffering a heart attack. The Northwest Regional Health Authority will begin infrastructural works at the Accident and Emergency Department in St. James on Friday, the 6th of January, and as a result of this, patrons will be allowed to enter that area directly from the front door of the department for the next 3 weeks. It says only emergency cases such as patients lying on trolleys and in wheelchairs will be allowed to enter via the front door at the Accident and Emergency Department. Everyone else is asked to listen, fully cooperate, and comply with the instructions given by the security personnel on site. The Prime Minister says there is one person who needs to comment on the granting of a housing allowance to President Carmona, since the Salaries Reviews Commission has distanced itself from the decision.
To answer your question as to the role of this government in that matter, I simply want to say that it appears to us that there is a requirement for the Auditor General, who is another arm of the state, to allay the public concerns with respect to the propriety of that action.
He says it's not uncommon for errors to occur, but the matter is typically the purview of the Auditor General.
From time to time, matters of this nature will come to the cabinet where there's an overpayment or there's an error and so on, and it is required to be rectified. But it usually comes after the Auditor General would have looked at the situation and make a determination as to whether the public funds have been properly received by the officer.
Questions arose on this matter when 28,000 tax-free dollars were paid in housing allowance for the president between 2013 and 2015. And there's also need for the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, to clarify a misconception about the location of the proposed site of Sandals in Tobago.
The hotel is not being built on no man's land. I will lend you all a map so you could see what no man's land is. No man's land is a sandspit at the end of a little promontory, nice beach close to the lagoon. That is not where the hotel is being built.
The land in question, which belonged to Angostura, is part of Golden Grove Estate in Tobago.
It's Golden Grove Estate and I think a piece of Buku Estate. So if you know where no man's land is, place yourself there and move away from it. It's as you are moving away from it, you will be approaching the hotel site.
As for the Sandals deal, the conversation has moved to the point where both sides are starting to exchange confidential information and deeper consultations with the resort chain to commence soon. And to some other news now, Frank Barnes has been appointed new Chief Executive Officer of the Urban Development Company Limited. He replaces Margaret Chow, who was acting in the position. According to UDICOT, Mr. Barnes took up the position on January 3rd. The Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce Tobago Division joined with their Trinidad counterparts to strongly condemn the strike action by the OWTU. The union plans to shut down its operations in Trinidad if wage negotiations aren't settled. Tobago Chamber Chairman Dami John Cruikshank said Tobago will feel the effects of the strike action the most.
Transportation, that will consist of both the airline and the sea bridge. and also our cargo on trucks bringing cargo to Tobago. So if there's a serious shortage of fuel in the country, that will bring a serious negative impact on the economy of Tobago.
He called for a quick solution to the problem.
That both the government and the OWTU needs to sit down urgently and come to us a solution, because our country cannot at this point in time afford a serious strike action by the union.
He was speaking at an impromptu press briefing on Wednesday afternoon. It's time for a look at what's happening in the world of sport. TTFA President David John Williams promised to give new head coach Tom St. Feet until March of this year to reverse the senior team's poor results, but he hasn't had a good start. Last night, St. Feet's team suffered its second defeat in 3 matches under his tenure, but this latest embarrassment leaves Trinidad and Tobago on the brink of elimination from the 3-team CFU Gold Cup playoff. Suriname beat the Warriors 2-1 at the Attobolden Stadium, scoring the winner in extra time to stun the home team and its supporters. Suriname next plays Haiti on Friday night at the same venue, where a win or draw could earn them the single berth available through to the next playoff phase. If they lose, however, TNT would then have to defeat the Haitians heavily in order to progress when those 2 teams clash on Sunday. It is the intention of the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee in 2017 to embark on a talent identification drive to aid in the development of top-class athletes across all sports. TTOC President Brian Lewis says they have already started a pilot project in the Chaguanas area, and the goal is to find the best young athletes in Trinidad and Tobago.
They have on the drawing board one of them next champion, which is going to be a kind of a talent identification program that I'm very excited about, because it's going to target at-risk communities and rural areas.
Meanwhile, Lewis says he will once again be making the walk in the Trinidad and Tobago International Marathon to raise awareness for athlete funding with assistance from the Olympic Committee's new sponsor.
Marathon walk fundraiser, and I'm going to be undertaking that again, this time in Puma.
Excellent news from the world of cycling. Kiana Lester, the TNT rider who was involved in an accident in South Trinidad while on a training ride on December 10th, has been discharged from hospital after nearly a month. Lester, who suffered a broken jaw and a dislocated hip in the accident on December 10th, was discharged from the San Fernando General Hospital on Wednesday morning, where she had been treated for her injuries since the incident. The 19-year-old will now continue her recovery at home as she aims to get back on the saddles in the shortest possible time, and is still hopeful of taking up a scholarship from the International Cycling Union in Switzerland in April. Her mother, Mary Lane, is extremely happy to have her daughter home.
They have really been good to my child. Really good. They have been good to her. They have been helpful to her. They have, you know, when she was in her moments of not being lucid, they spoke to her, kept her, you know, safe and everything. So
Lane expressed gratitude to the nurses and doctors of the orthopedic ward at the San Fernando General Hospital. That's the C News Report at noon. I'm Mahalia Joseph. Remember, for up-to-date and breaking news throughout the day, you can visit the C News website at ctvtt.com. Have a good afternoon.